Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Um, there is a series of videos that I am embarking on, which I've wanted to make for a while, because it's really interesting to me. I was diagnosed with autism, and I'm in like a support group on Facebook with like 5,000 women who were women and queer people um, who were diagnosed with autism late in life because of our ability to mask and to pass, um, and often like diagnosed with different things throughout their lives and just kind of like violently misunderstood, more or less. And it is certainly this kind of like subtle and persistent abuse to the psyche to be misunderstood consistently, and it can lead to adverse effects. But because my special interest is astrology, I only put that in quotes because I'm just like being sarcastic. Like, autistic people have special interests, and one of mine is astrology. But like, as I've learned more about autism and the traits, I've recognized so much of it within my birth chart, and I just kind of wanted to look at autism through the lens of astrology and talk about what parts of astrology and what placements I believe are indicative of autistic traits. So, without further ado, one part of astrology that could be used to explain common autistic traits would definitely be Uranus. Uranus is, for all my non-astrologers out there, it is a planet that represents ingenuity, being progressive, thinking outside the box. Oh, this is helpful. In its like true nature, it is the opposite of Leo, which is the stereotypical wanting to be seen. And so Uranus doesn't care to be seen. It's like, it is an air sign. It thinks a lot. Autistic people are known for being very mental, and autistic people are known for breaking the norm and doing things in ways that people don't normally do them, and not really giving a damn for whether it's cool or not. So I definitely think that Uranus is my top pick for most autistic planet. And I mean that with so much genuine, what's the word? Like admiration. Like, it's a compliment. Another aspect of astrology that I find to be rather autistic is the 12th house, or Pisces. The 12th house, if you have a planet in the 12th house, or if you have multiple in the 12th house, or if you just have like Neptune conjunctions or like a ton of Pisces energy, those would all be 12th house things. And some of the kind of like stereotypical things with Neptune and the 12th house is being highly, highly sensitive. It's like Pisces is represented by like no boundaries, like outer space, like endless creativity and imagination, and kind of like with that no boundaries thing, like being able to sense into other people's experiences and be like an empath, having like psychic abilities, being an artistic person, and someone who thrives like in music. like how everything in the universe is a vibration. And so, like, nothing around us is anything really other than vibrations and electric flow. That is kind of like Piscean. It's kind of like the oneness and the connectivity. It's like the consciousness of that. Autistic people are also known for having very, very hypersensitive parts to themselves, like needing to wear clothing that is like really comfortable, and being like shocked and like disturbed from like going in a grocery store that has harsh lighting and like bad music, and being overstimulated by that. I believe that it's the sensitivity piece that causes autistic people to have a difficult time making eye contact, and that would be Piscean as well, because sometimes when you're very, very without boundaries, you can be very flooded by other people's their presence, and that can just be too much. And so in order to like create a boundary for yourself, you don't want to get sucked into their soul. Like, you just don't want to look into their eyes. It's like, it's kind of grounding, okay? So, yeah, that would be a very autistic planet in my eyes, would be Neptune or the 12th house. Let me think about this. The first house is ruled by Aries. It's all about the self. And I know a girl who, like me, was diagnosed late in life with autism, and she has really big Aries all over her birth chart. She kind of like, it's kind of like what I was explaining with how Uranus can be autistic. It's like she is so much I don't know how to not sound rude when I say things, but she's so much more into herself than anything else. Like, she loves spending time by herself. She does not care what other people think, because she knows what she thinks, and that's what she thinks, and she likes herself. Like, that feels very sort of like autistic to me. Autistic people are kind of known for like loving spending time alone. And that would go with the 12th house as well, because a lot of people who have major 12th house in their birth charts really need alone time. Like, it's a need. You need to recenter yourself and ground yourself. Now, this is just me digressing, you know, like, this is totally just like, and something that I think about and I find interesting, and I was just like, I'm going to put it out there because I find it interesting. Probably someone else on the internet will. But from this point forward, I'm just going to go through the rest of the houses and talk about what parts I do and do not think are seemingly autistic. The second house, or the house of Taurus, is known for its delight in pleasures, and it's a very earthy, grounded sign. Well, one aspect of being autistic is that you can be, sometimes, depending on the person, a really picky eater. Taurus loves their food. They only want to eat really good food, ever. And have, again, like the soft, very comfortable clothing that is tactile, the delight of the tactile. That's an autistic trait. The third house, Gemini. That is a house, I have a Gemini moon, that is ferociously inquisitive and has a love for words and also does things in very unique ways and doesn't really care what other people think that much. I mean, Gemini's weird like that because it's kind of like bipolar, so sometimes it really does want people to like it. It just wants to be like recognized for its genius. But like an aspect of autism is that you can be like more inquisitive than people around you. A lot of the time on like the support group that I mentioned, autistic people will be talking about like, how do other people just actually go to work, be told what to do, right? Like autistic people don't like being told what to do. They're given instructions and then they just do the thing without like trying to like build on it or question why this is the thing that we're doing. Like there's this feeling for us in the autistic community that how can, like, we're the ones that don't fit in, but how and why is this so like seemingly simple for like the neurotypical world? And thankfully I know there's like a lot of neurodivergent people out there and that autism is a spectrum. And I'm totally digressing right now, but a little random side note is that there are some people who theorize that anyone with a neurodivergent diagnosis, such as borderline or bipolar, are in truth autistic, but it was not recognized, and so they're autistic. The ways the world has like not been accommodating to them and been subtly abusive to them has led to these like further development of traits that fit with bipolar and borderline. That's just a random theory. All right, the fourth house. Cancerians. Is Cancer an autistic sign? I don't know. I guess the way that I could see Cancer being autistic is because Cancer is like really protective of itself, like not that quick to open up, and that can be kind of like a stereotype for autistic people. But of all the adult autistic women that I know with late diagnoses, I don't really resonate that Cancer doesn't feel very autistic to me. And like another thing about Cancer is like the desire to care for people and like nurture them. And while I'm sure that there are autistic people that love to care and nurture for people and are very motherly, it just doesn't, it's not, I don't believe that's an autistic trait. All right, the fifth house, Leo, the desire to be seen. I don't think that's an autistic trait. There's gonna definitely be autistic people that want to be seen in the world, and like are good at like being in the spotlight. That's just not an autistic trait. Sorry, bye Leo. The sixth house of, why am I forgetting the sixth house right now? The eighth house, seventh house, sixth house. What is happening to my brain? This has never happened before. Oh my god, Virgo, and I'm a freaking Virgo. Okay, Virgo is extremely autistic, and I'm gonna tell you why. Virgo loves analysis. It is constantly looking at the world around it and saying, scanning, going back and forth, boop, boop, boop. Okay, this does not belong. Take it out, bye. That's why everyone thinks Virgo's a perfectionist and like we're assholes and stuff. But really, it's like extremely effective. And that's highly autistic. Just to be like, hello, like I gave you the answer. Why are you mad? Why are you in your feelings? Like, this is what it is. You're welcome. That's autistic for sure. The seventh house of Libra. I'm not really seeing it, to be honest. Yeah. I do think that, like, autistic people have, the ability to have equal balanced relationships and have, like, really cool aesthetic, but that doesn't really fit with, like, autism, in my opinion. Scorpio, the eighth house, the desire to connect deeply, the desire to know what's going on under the surface, this kind of like bold fearlessness, kind of like the interest in niche, countercultural things. Yeah, Scorpio, it's autistic, but not that autistic. It's like the very, very like intense need to connect deeply. I don't really feel like that part's very autistic, but like if you have like a Mercury in Scorpio or some kind of like mental like just some part of your personality that's like scorpionic and having that desire to really, really know how things are in the world and that fearless interest in sort of niche kind of subgroups of society. Yeah, that's autistic. Okay, the ninth house, Sagittarius. I'm not really feeling that this one's autistic. Sagittarius, it is one for philosophy, it is one for expansiveness, optimism. No offense, autistic people, but you're not known for being that optimistic. I know that there's really probably some greatly optimistic autistic people out there, but as far as autistic traits go, we are more known for being a little more cut and dry, a little more pessimistic, realists. Not very Sagittarius. All right, the 10th house of Capricorn. Being about our business. That's not an autistic trait. There are autistic people, again, who make money and start businesses and are extremely successful in this way. But more often than not, an autistic trait would be the opposite, which is maybe that is Cancerian, but kind of like this. Well, it's a rude stereotype, but calling us lazy, and that comes from like our complete overwhelm and just kind of the exhaustion of being misunderstood and overstimulated all the time, and like being so logical. We can be kind of like lazy because if you tell an autistic person to do something and they don't see why they're doing it and they don't, feel drawn or passionate and interested in doing it, then it's going to be harder to get them to do it than a neurotypical person because we really do what we want. That's why my number one pick was definitely Uranus, but now I'm just having fun and going through the signs. All right, 11th house, you already know, that's where I started. So we've come full circle. This was fun. This was interesting. I hope this was something that someone will listen to. Have a good night.